All right, so ranking 1 through 32, the best to worst, or I guess in this case, worst to best defense in football. It's using my grades that I've used throughout this whole offseason to predict what's going to happen using, a war-like formula. So how many wins will the worst defenses get? How many wins will the best defenses get for their team? Let's just get into it. All right, so starting off with the bottom 8 here. Yes, the worst two defenses, the Texans and the Lions, actually ended up finishing. The Lions were actually a little bit better than the Texans, even though they both have 0 wins. And yeah, by the way, that's what you're looking at, is how many wins were added. So pass rush on the left, coverage in the middle, run defense on the next right, and then the final one all the way over to the right is the total wins you got from your defense. You get less wins from your defense than you do from your offense, but the Lions actually did have a tier 4, but it was a tier 4 in a category that doesn't give you any extra wins, so that's why they're there. The Dallas Cowboys at 30, they barely do enough to get a little bit of wins in the run defense category. Not a ton, but they're there. The Falcons also next spot up. They did jump up a tier in the coverage units, so that's why they're there, but still not a ton. And also, just so you guys understand how this works, it is weighted, very heavily for coverage. Coverage is the best, then run defense. Pass rush, not going to give you too much. So teams like the Eagles and Panthers have an okay pass rush, at least a better pass rush than some other teams, just not giving you a ton of wins there. And so, the Eagles don't have a very good coverage unit, can stop the run well, but still, these are teams that aren't adding too many wins with their defense. Finally, for Cincinnati and for Jacksonville, their teams were not great front seven, but they can at least cover well, and it's better to have that than the other way around. So that's why those teams are all where they are. Next, 8 here. So again, we got some teams that are interesting, I think, where you got the Jets, who they cannot cover, but they do have a good front seven, but front seven only gets you so much. So I think some teams that weigh front seven more would have the Jets a lot higher, but that's just not what the numbers say. Analytics say coverage a lot more important than front seven. For the Titans, they have an okay coverage unit. It's not good. I believe that's tier 4, the 0.82 wins there. They can stop the run. Again, it's not abysmal, but they're at least trying to be competent right here. But make no mistake, the Titans are a good team because of their offense. The Raiders are another interesting team. They're here at 22. They could potentially jump higher, but for them, the way for them to jump higher would absolutely just be for their young players to take a step up, which is possible. It's absolutely possible. For the Chiefs, they're similar, better coverage, but they could have, it's tier 3. They could still have some room for improvement. Still don't understand letting Bashaud Breeland walk, and their run defense and pass rush, fine, but not spectacular. Number 20, you have the Seahawks, who they stop the run well, but again, there's only so many wins to be had there, and they don't do a tremendous job of too much else. Their coverage unit isn't spectacular, and their pass rush not spectacular, so they're still under 2 wins there. We're finally at 18, getting to the teams that are adding multiple wins with their defense. The Minnesota Vikings and Chargers are actually tied across the board here. Interestingly enough, both teams that cover decently well, stop the run decently well, and pass rush decently well. Kind of mediocre all across the board, which is why they're where they're at. And then for the Cardinals, you do have them as, similar. They just rush the passer a little bit better, so they're a little bit higher. Number 16, it's the Green Bay Packers, who do play coverage pretty well, but again, coverage isn't the only thing that matters. It matters the most, but it's not the only thing that matters, so that's why they're still here. You have the San Francisco 49ers, who don't cover as well, and them and the Bears don't cover as well, but they do stop the run better, and the Bears really good at rushing the passer, because you can still get over a win from rushing the passer. It's not like it doesn't matter. It's just overrated. Like, look at the Ravens. They can't rush the passer well, tier 5. They can't play run defense very well, tier 5. However, they're still a 3-win team, and tied with the Bills, who are also 3 wins, got there a different way. The Ravens, all they are is coverage, but that's all you really need in the NFL to have a above average defense. Number 12, the Buffalo Bills are here. The Bills are another team that, they could potentially improve if some of their young players take a step forward, specifically in the pass rush area, as they have 0 wins added there. And again, tier 4 or tier 5 will give you 0. So that's why there's a bit more zeros in the pass rush stuff. But, stop the run well. They play coverage well. It's a tier 4 coverage unit, so that's why they're where they're at. The Saints are another interesting one where you could argue they should be higher given the fact that their coverage unit I have is tier 3, but the way they play, they tend to just be so well coached that gets them better than tier 3. So if you believe that, that could allow them to get some more wins, but still, they're just barely over 3 wins added with their defense. You also have the Dolphins, which I think people will be upset calling the Dolphins only the 10th best defense in football, but I think it's probably fair. Like, I don't think their front 7 is particularly great. Even though their coverage unit is elite, there's still some wins left on the table there with that. So that's why I have them there. And number 9 with the Giants, coverage not quite as good, but they stop the run better, they rush the pass better, so they're here at number 9. And then finally, top 8 here. So the Colts, not the best at rushing the passer, but they do cover well and they stop the run very well. The Buccaneers are one spot ahead, and the Buccaneers and the Saints, another one of those instances where those two teams, Buccaneers and the Steelers are one of those instances where they're just tied completely across the board. Kind of funny, but they're complete teams. They rush the passer well. There's again some wins to be had in their coverage unit, but it's still not a bad coverage unit, and they stop the run well. So if you want to be like a tier 1 defense and you don't have the best coverage unit, you do probably have to have like a tier 1 pass rush and tier 1 run defense, but both of those two teams do have that. So next up, number 5, the Patriots. Again, it's a lot easier when you just have that great coverage unit because their run defense is still solid, pass rush still okay, but their coverage unit is what gets them here. And then finally, 4 teams that are adding 4 wins to their win total with their defense. The Broncos and Browns tied across the board with 4.05 total wins added with their defense. Coverage units are both great. Broncos is better, but again, it's just tiers, so I don't calculate each spot. And then both teams can stop the run and rush the pass relatively well, but coverage unit is where they really make their money there. Number 2, we have the Washington football team right here. They're a team that, they tier 1 pass rush, they're tier 2 run defense, and then tier 2 coverage. So another team very good across the board. The Rams are the best defense in football, in my opinion, and they're not that much better than the Washington football team. They just have a tier 1 run defense. Washington has a tier 2 run defense. That's kind of the difference right there, and you could easily have that flipped if you wanted to. It wouldn't be that difficult, which is, again, it's kind of funny to me where I make this system, and the whole thing about the system is coverage matters more. Stop the pass, stop the pass, stop the pass. But the 2 teams that I have, 1 and 2, are teams that aren't tier 1 coverage units, although, all of the top 5 are either tier 1 or tier 2 coverage units, so it still does factor in, but it's not the only way to have a successful defense in the NFL, and my 2 most successful defenses I'm projecting for 2021, neither one of them have the best coverage unit, but again, it's because the Rams literally have tier 1 pass rush and tier 1 run defense. But yeah, so that's my 1 through 32. I figured doing something like this could just, again, I like to make these kind of videos because I've already talked about the teams individually, but kind of comparing them against each other, it can sort of make some things make more sense or make some things make less sense and make you more confused. And so that can create some interesting discussion, I think. So that's why I wanted to make this, also making one about the offense. Not sure if that's out yet. If not, it will be soon. But yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.